Hi guys, Mark Hardy here. So I was working on a real estate deal this morning, getting out an addendum to have my client sign, and I was on Facebook. I've also been on Facebook a lot lately, and I'm a member of a couple of landlord groups, and I created my own landlord group. If you haven't checked it out, it's called DIY Landlord on Facebook, and it's informative. It's a place where landlords can succeed and grow together, seek advice based on their leases, what they're doing with their properties, fixes. Even somebody asked today how to repair a toilet. There's random stuff. Being a landlord and being an investor has all sorts of things related to that. But anyway, I wanted to do a video today. It might be the first video of my podcast here, Win with Real Estate. But I get this question a lot as a real estate pro and someone that's been investing in real estate since I was 23. So I have 18 years of firsthand experience with buying residential real estate properties and renting them out as a business, as a side business, really, because the primary thing I do is sell people houses and help people sell their houses. But anyway, I get this question all the time, but there was a post made in this forum this morning that I wanted to talk to you about because it's the basis for a lot of questions I get with real estate in today's environment with the 6, 7, 8% rates that we're seeing. But this guy in this post in the landlords group on Facebook said, "Hey, I'm a landlord of 6 years here. I'm 31 years old and have 15 units, 13 in Chicago, 1 in Yuma, the other in San Diego. Cash flow has been rough, as you all will know, with hikes in property taxes and insurance, and half the units I own are with 7% interest rates. I bought those properties in hopes that the rates would soon go down." In parentheses, he puts, "I no longer think that." And that's the basis of something I want to talk to you about today, because he's learning a hard lesson right now. And with the hopes that rents would increase and deflate away the debt. And these properties have been a ton of work. It's nonstop. Not complaining, but for investors who have been in the market for many cycles, what do you tell yourself to keep holding onto your properties rather than cashing out and putting in money into the S&P 500, which seems to be red hot and no work at all? So a very interesting question. The question that I get is what is the when and how of buying residential rental property? Is it a good thing to invest in? And as this gentleman learned, I want to talk to you for a second about whether buying rentals now in a high interest rate environment is a good idea or not, and a few other comments that I want to talk to you about, because really it goes down to what is your long-term strategy and what is the why for you in investing in residential real estate. All right, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the why, but it's an important question that each of us has to ask ourselves before we buy our first rental. And it's sometimes something we have to visit over and over again to make sure we're on track for what we want as far as our goals. And what I wanted to talk about more so is how and when, and how the how and when relate to one another in terms of how the rental will pay you based on when you purchase it. So again, this seems to be the disconnect for this particular individual, who half of his rental portfolio sounds like he owns at a very high interest rate. And he's probably super stressed because he's probably barely breaking even, or he might even be in the red a little bit on half of his rental portfolio. And that is stressful. But the point I wanted to make in talking about this post is to clarify for anyone out there that is thinking about buying a rental property right now, and to answer that question, is now a good time to buy a rental property? Well, yes, of course it is, but you have to have the proper understanding of perspective on how and the when and how they relate to one another. So let's talk about that. So if you buy a high interest or a rental property with a high interest rate right now, you have to realize that it's a long-term play. It really makes sense for people that are high income earners and have a lot of W-2 income to offset. They can win with real estate in a huge way on their taxes right now. Doctors, lawyers, anyone making multiple six figures or over six figures, it can make sense in so many ways, because in the midterm and the short term and next year when you file taxes, if you buy a rental this year or next year, whatever, it's going to be a huge tax savings and benefit to you. And especially in an environment where you're just barely getting by and the rental doesn't pencil out on paper, you're even maybe paying a few $100s a month to hang on to the rental. But then if you turn yourself into an active participant for tax purposes and become an active manager of your rental with, I think the tax rule is 100 hours or more a year, then now all of a sudden that passive income becomes fully deductible. And if there's no passive income to speak of, guess what? It's the passive or the expenses that you're incurring. They all become immediately expensable and they don't get phased out based on high income. So that can be a huge benefit to someone who is just writing a check every year to Uncle Sam and will have nothing to show for it 20 or 30 years down the road when all of these rentals are paid off. So it's not a get rich quick scheme, guys. It's if you buy a rental right now, you have to understand that it's a long-term play, and only with time does that investment get sweeter in terms of the money that you're going to put in your pocket every year. Okay, right now you're saving taxes and preparing for it to provide income perhaps when you're not working, maybe during your retirement, when you no longer want to wake up at 9 o'clock and go to work till 5. That's what you're saving for, and that's why for this guy on the forum, he needs to have a better understanding of the how and the when and how they relate. He can still win with his real estate. He just has to change his perspective real quick and kind of refocus on what he's trying to do with his assets. Okay. And so if you're going to enter the real estate market right now, you have to definitely understand that. I think that the people winning the most with real estate are those high income earners looking at rentals, because it can do just what we've already talked about. But can the average investor or the guy working a blue-collar job buy a rental and become successful with it? And knowing that you don't have to buy 15 of them, yeah, you can buy 1 or 2 rentals through your hard work and sacrifice, and it can pay off for you in the same way it can the other guy that just needs to, stuff cash in a losing investment right now and win with it later. So, yes, you can win with real estate. I'm a huge proponent of it. Again, you don't have to be the guy that owns a ton of rental properties for it to make sense in your situation. But what I wanted to convey to you with this post and this first podcast episode is that you just have to go into it with a realistic expectation of when you purchase it and understanding how it will pay you, because those two are completely different. Back when I bought 15 to 18 years ago, it was dumb luck. You didn't have to be a genius. You bought a rental because it only took $20,000 and it cash flowed from day one. And so nowadays, looking at that as an investment looks much differently. So you have to look at the tax reasons. You have to look at, are you on the same page with your wife or your spouse or whoever, your business partner? If you're going to do it with someone, you have to be on the same page with one another, or it'll put tremendous pressure on that relationship or that partnership, because how you're going to make money with the asset based on when you buy it looks so much different. You just have to understand that. So yes, I am a huge fan of owning real estate as an investment, as you can tell. As long as you have a plan and a strategy and you understand how it will work for you. I'm happy to discuss that with you privately. If you ever want to reach out, I'm a licensed Arizona real estate pro. I've been investing in real estate long before I got my license, but I have a lot of firsthand experience managing and owning. 18 years of experience. I've managed all of my rentals from day one. So I've got a ton of experience on the landlord side of things, and just writing the transaction and the real estate deal side of things too, obviously. So I hope you'll tune in to subscribe and find value in this podcast, and stay tuned for more. We appreciate you being here and look forward to your comments below. Thank you.